What is up everyone, and welcome to some more My Team career mode in F1 22. Last time out we were in Australia and every time this happens it fucks me up so much. Why does his voice just change to a completely different accent sometimes? I'm sure there was another one where he went Australian. Anyway, that massively threw me off completely. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Australia. We had the Australian Grand Prix last. We had a DNF 4 laps before the end when we were running in third. And that was quite hard to take because, you know, that could be the difference between us winning the championship and not winning the championship.
The entire development package for this weekend has failed. Any redevelopments will need to be ordered from the R&D screen.
Is that a different accent again, or am I just tripping now? Just go back to being French. And everything will be right with the world. Anyway, moving on from that, whatever the hell is going on here. We had a few upgrades fail, but that's okay. You know, we don't have that many to get on the car anyway, so we're going to slide down the order at some point. Maybe this is just making the inevitable come a little bit quicker. We're at the Chinese Grand Prix this weekend. I don't think I actually said that yet because I kept being distracted by fake Chris. And yeah, it was a race that we were doing pretty well at last year. We qualified very well, and we were holding our own, but unfortunately we just we couldn't hold our own for long enough. So the car ended up breaking down, and yeah, that was the end of our race after only sort of like 5 laps or something like that. So unfortunately, yeah, not a great track record here at China in the one race we've done so far when it's been on the calendar, but I'm hoping that we can improve going forward. There's Kevin Magnussen at Aston Martin with a helmet that has Haas plastered all over it, which I think is quite funny, but I'm not going to read too much into it. We did go fastest in practice, so I'm hopeful that this will translate into some good form in qualifying as well. You know, maybe we can grab pole. It would only be the 3rd time in our career that we've done that. Obviously, we got it in Britain in Season 2, and then we got it in Jeddah earlier in the year. We're getting a lot of boosts onto the car, so I'm hopeful that we will be able to maybe put on another upgrade after this practice has happened, and maybe we can get it on in time for sort of Imola or Miami or Spain/Monaco at the very latest. There's a lot of races at the very beginning of this season that come in very quick succession, but you know, as we move towards the end of the season, it will the calendar will slowly get a little bit less hectic, let's say. That said, though, we do have Portugal and the like, which will be coming towards the end of the season. In the end, I think we decided to rush this upgrade. You know, I was weighing up whether it was worth it or not, and I think if we can get that on for Imola, that would be really useful, because obviously there's a big long straight at Imola, which would be massively helped if we can reduce the amount of downforce we're generating. But you know, we'll see whether that passes or not. It's a 40% chance of failing, which isn't massively high, but it's definitely realistic for it to fail, and it was only 14% if we'd have done standard, so it might be a bit foolish, but we won't worry about it too much. Now we come into qualifying, and this is my first flying lap of Q1 on a fresh set of softs, because obviously there aren't any used sets at this point, and we do a 132.7. It's fastest for now, but I'm sure that will get beaten as things progress. Have to avoid Schumacher as we come round, and that was actually the only lap we did in Q1. In the end, it was good enough for P10, but we were less than 4/10 off Gasly, so I think we have the potential to be competitive. You know, it was just a banker lap, but I thought we can probably risk not going out again, and yeah, I was right. So that was fortunate, and now we are into Q2. This is our first flying lap of Q2. This time we're on a used set of softs, and we'll see what kind of times we can do on the used set. It's a 133.0, just barely outside of the 132s, but still a pretty decent time. You know, only a few tenths off what I did on a fresh set. And it ended up actually being the only run I did, because I didn't realise that there was going to be a weather change during the session, and so by the time I was planning to go out for my second run, the weather had changed to the point that there was no point going out, and I was very fortunate to make it through in P10 to Q3. Norris, my championship rival, is actually out, so that presents a really good opportunity for us if we can qualify quite high up the grid. and maybe get some good points in the race. But it will be a wet practice session, or wet qualifying session first for Q3, and we'll have a few shots of trying to stick it on pole in the wet, which is notoriously difficult because the AI are very fast in the wet compared to me. And you can see that in us setting a 1:45.1 as our first flying lap of Q3, and we come round, and that we're currently in P10, so we're going to have to improve quite significantly if we want to work our way up the order ahead of the Alpines, ahead of Gasly, ahead of Ricciardo maybe, and we'll see what we can do on the intermediate tyres at the end of the session. The track, I think, was drying ever so slightly, not drastically, but it was a teeny bit drier than it was in the first flying lap, so that will maybe allow us to go a little bit faster. So we'll just push as hard as we can and see if we can make some improvements. I think everyone else had already set their quali laps by this point, and that means that we actually stand a pretty good chance of improving up the order, just by the fact that we're running on the driest track of anyone. But that doesn't mean that it's dry, and it doesn't mean that we're suddenly going to find pace that we don't have. We're 7/10 up as we come to the end of the second sector, and now pretty much all that stands in our way is a couple of corners. There's the Max Chilton section, as some people like to refer to it. It's a very strange name to give to a sequence of corners, but I understand why, obviously. And then there's the hairpin at the end of the long back straight, and then there's one fast left-hander to cross the line. So those are the only places that we can potentially make up time now. We did set a purple sector too, so we could be in with a good chance of getting pole here. We'll see what happens. I don't know who's on pole at the moment, but all I know is that I want it to be me. And with a long straight, if our car is fast in a straight line and only a few corners, then potentially we can stick it on pole. We're about 1.2, 1.3 seconds up as we cross the line, and it's good enough in the end to put us. Okay, it was pole position. Brilliant, fantastic. That's what we were hoping for. We'll see what the gap was in a second.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves once again of our top three: Robinson, Leclerc, and Lewis Hamilton. With qualifying wrapped up now, we have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic.
So it was only 0.2 faster than Leclerc in the end, but that's all you need, you know? It didn't even need to be 0.2 faster. It could have been 0.02 faster or 0.002 faster. All that matters is that it was faster. And that puts us P1, which means we'll be starting with the other 21 cars behind us. Thank you, Will Buxton, for that quote. Anyway, we're leading the rivalry now against Max Verstappen by 3 points, and if we can finish ahead of him in the race, then we could be leading by even more. And we're almost at Team Acclaim level 21, which means we'll only be 4 levels away from being able to sign a new sponsor. However, the acclaim that we're gaining is slowing down to the point that I'm actually starting to wonder whether it would be worth getting another marketing upgrade, but they're so expensive that I really just can't think about that right now. Got the preparation email from Mark. It looks like the race is going to be dry. There's a small chance of rain, but it is small. And now it's time for us to get into the race.
It's time again then for Formula One in Shanghai. Northwest of the thriving city of over 24 million people is a circuit that first featured in the championship calendar back in 2004. It played host to Formula One's 1000th Grand Prix back in 2019. Shanghai International Circuit then is a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests the driver's patience. The flats, open to the elements location, test their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and they're available into turn 1 and down the kilometre-long back straight into turn 14. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Robinson lines up on pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Russell, Carlos Sainz, and Verstappen, Ocon, Gasly, Ricciardo, and Lando Norris, Magnussen, Fernando Alonso. They've taken a grid penalty. Alex Albon and Perez, Stroll, Fittipaldi, Yuki Tsunoda, and Christian Lundgaard. Zhou, Latifi, Mick Schumacher, and Robert Schwartzman. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Alongside me to discuss all the action today is Anthony Davidson. Thanks for joining us, Ant. And tell me, you were down in the pit lane earlier. How do you think the track conditions are today?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there, if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
So here we are at the beginning. We're getting ready to go on the formation lap. And yeah, it's going to be strange leading away a formation lap. It's only my 3rd time on pole. I'm getting slowly used to it now, but yeah, there's definitely still a novelty to it. And we're going to have quite a long time lining up on the grid, so we'll just see what we can do putting heat into the tyres. As I mentioned before, the key to getting a good start is to put lots of heat through the tyres, and you can see here I've warmed the front left up to 88 degrees, so I think we should be able to get a good start here. We got a good parking as well. We need to be wary of Russell, who's starting on the softs, whereas the rest of us are starting on the mediums. But yeah, other than that, I think we definitely have the ability to defend our position into turn 1, and we're just waiting for everyone to line up on the grid. Looks like Fittipaldi actually is starting at a pretty decent spot for a change. I can't tell where that is, but it looks like it's about P15 or something like that, so fair play to him. And yeah, here we go, the lights come on. And the lights go out, and here we go. It's time now for the Chinese Grand Prix to get underway. I get a pretty good start. You see Leclerc's already fallen away from me, and Russell, as I predicted, is already up into P2, ahead of Leclerc and ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton as well. So we've got on the way all right, but we are going to have to watch for Russell over the course of the lap and over the course of this next stint with him on the soft compound tyres. Ocon as well has jumped all the way up to P5 on the set of soft compound tyres as well. He's having a really strong season actually, Ocon. I see him up in the top 5 all the time. So yeah, fair play to him in that Alpine, which is not particularly fast this season, at least compared to last season when it was one of the best cars on the grid. Leclerc is falling away significantly, but one person who is not falling away is George Russell. He's 1/10 behind me, and pretty much on my gearbox through all of these corners right now. We need to try and pull away as quickly as we possibly can. If he gets DRS, he is just going to swamp us completely. But yeah, it's all right if he does, because obviously he's on a different strategy, which might mean that his tyres will fall off later into the stint and we can re-overtake him. I've definitely seen races like that before in Formula 1, where one driver has got past on fresher tyres earlier in the race, only to then fall behind the driver they previously overtook because their tyres have gone off. And that's why it's as much a strategy game as it is a game of actually driving and racing. You have to be sharp on the strategy as well, and we'll see today whether it's me or whether it's Russell that got the strategy right as we progress through the race. I don't have the most pace in the world. You see, I'm kind of losing touch to him and falling back into the grips of Leclerc. So we'll see whether he can maybe try and put a move on me later on or not. And now here we are at the start of lap 3. George Russell has significantly moved away from me, and we are being pressured by Charles Leclerc to the right of us. He actually makes a bit of contact with me. I have to check if my front wing's all right. And then because we kind of get pushed out wide, I get onto the grass a little bit, and I almost lose the back end of the car. We fortunately managed to correct the spin before we lose lots of positions, which means we only just lose out to Leclerc, and that's it for now. But Hamilton is right behind us, and I'm sure he'll want to be attacking us as we progress with the Grand Prix. And now as we move on to the end of lap 3 and the start of lap 4, you can see Hamilton is going to have the DRS on us, and we're going to have to do everything in our power to try and defend from him. He goes up the inside of us here. We almost make contact. I think maybe it was a light touch, but not enough to generate any damage. My wheel was like perfectly sandwiched between his two. But we keep our foot in, and we just about hold on around the outside for now, around the corner that feels like it goes on forever, as Marcus Ericsson once put it. And yeah, we hold on to P3 for now. We stay on the podium, and that's kind of what our aim is going to be in this race, even if we don't get the win. To try and hold on to the podium so we can meet all of our sponsor objectives and yeah, get the most money we possibly can. That's exactly what I wanted to hear, because Lando Norris is my championship rival. He's the one who's closest to me in the championship at the moment, so he's the person who I feel like I should be watching out for. And yeah, he's the driver who definitely presents the biggest threat to us in this championship at the moment if we are trying to win the championship. And yeah, now as we come onto the back straight through the Max Chilton section, Lewis Hamilton is going to have DRS on us once again. He's only half a second down on us. He's gaining even before the DRS. We're burning the battery, but he is closing us down quite significantly, and I think he might have a go at us here into the hairpin. He goes up the inside. He's just alongside us. We go around the outside trying to hold him off, and I think we're just about going to hold on to the position for now. He wasn't quite close enough, or maybe he wasn't quite committed to the move enough, like Daniel Ricciardo was in 2018 when he famously won the race here after being on the right strategy at the right time. He managed to cut his way through the field at the end of the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton has a go at us again up around the outside of turn 1 on this occasion, but it doesn't work, and we managed to hold on to the position once again. And yeah, now here we are on lap 7, towards the end of lap 7, and this is Yuki Tsunoda running into the back of, I believe that is Sergio Perez, but I'm not sure. And that actually spelled the end of his race. He's going to peel away from the circuit here and be out of the Grand Prix. So yeah, maybe a little bit unexpected there, but yeah, that's the race over for Yuki Tsunoda. So a weird way for it to end, just sort of lightly tapping into the back of a car in front of you. But I mean, I guess if that's it, then that's it. And as that's happening, Lewis Hamilton gets up our inside, but we are going to fight him back through this corner. We've got a bit more traction to deploy as we kind of get to the second phase of the corner, and somehow we retain that position. I don't know how we managed to get back ahead of him there, but he is going to attack us again as we come down to this hairpin. But yeah, we're just defending with everything we've got right now. It's a real battle between me and Hamilton. He's trying to go the inside again as we come around this fast left-hander, and as we come into the slightly slower but still relatively fast right-hander, he's still battling alongside me. And yeah, it's only as we get into this double apex corner that we just about managed to be ahead of him once again. And yeah, he is putting the moves on us quite significantly. I think we're going to really struggle to keep him behind for that much longer if this onslaught from him continues. We're only on lap 8. We've got 20 more laps of this to come potentially, unless something changes at some point throughout the race. I think we're pitting on lap 12 or 13, something like that. So yeah, there's going to be at least another 4 or 5 laps to put up with this attack from him. Even Sainz is kind of starting to get involved now, and we're going to have to really do what we can to try and hold him off. We actually cut the corner there a tiny bit. I didn't mean to, and we had the DRS, so maybe a little bit of a cheeky move from me. But even with the DRS, Hamilton has still managed to keep his foot in here, and he's gone up the inside once again. And we're going to see if we can hold on around the outside this time. The inside line that we took on the previous lap wasn't really an option on this occasion, because Hamilton and Sainz were blocking moving to the inside. And now as we move around onto lap 10, we're going to be under pressure from Hamilton once again as he comes up the inside. And yeah, the AI loves sending it into this corner. But I think we're going to be able to hold on for now. We're going to try and go for the move that we went for on lap 8 once again, up the inside, and somehow we are fighting this position back. I don't know how it is possible to do that, but you know, our tyres are starting to go off now, and as we lose traction, it's only going to become less possible to make that kind of move. So we're going to have to try and think of some new ways to defend from Hamilton as he attacks us once again into the hairpin at the end of the lap, and still we hold on to P2 now as it is, because I think George Russell has pitted from the lead from his soft compound tyres, and he's going to fit maybe a set of mediums to the end, not sure, as we now start lap 11, and Hamilton breezes past us, and I don't think there's any coming back on that one. It was a strong defense. It's the kind of thing that would make Hamilton say I was a great driver, I'm sure, but not enough to maintain my podium position. And Hamilton moves up into P2, but what will most likely be net P3 after everyone is stopped. I can see George Russell is stuck between an Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin and a Williams at the moment, but yeah, we'll see where he comes out after everyone has stopped. Here we are now on lap 13. It's our pit lap, and we are coming in, and we are going to fit a set of hard compound tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. So we'll see if we can get a quick stop here. Verstappen is also coming in, and we just want to get a swift stop if we can. I've switched to broadcast. It was initially an accident because I set this on for an online session that I was doing with some friends, and I don't know, I just thought it might be nicer, and it means I don't have to worry about I don't know, getting an optimal turn in or anything like that. It's a little bit boring just having to press X at the right time. So yeah, I don't know, I just I figure it might be a bit spicier if we get some cool camera angles and things like that. So yeah, we've switched that for now. Let me know if you like the change. If not, maybe we can change it back. But I think it's alright for the time being. We come on to the end of lap 14, start at lap 15 now, and we're breezing past the pits. And I guess Hamilton must have had some kind of issue or something like that, because I've jumped him quite significantly, and he was ahead of me before the pit stop phase. Russell and Leclerc are, what, 9-10 seconds up the road. There's a big gap there, so I think it's going to be difficult for us to close that one down. But you know, anything can happen. If there's a safety car, then we could be potentially in the money. Now we're on lap 15, moving on to lap 16, and Verstappen is putting us under significant pressure. He's going to have the DRS here and probably try and go up the inside, and it's going to go from bad to worse. Sainz is coming out of the pits, and I think there was a crash, because there's a yellow flag here, and oh, there is a safety car. Okay. And I think Max Verstappen was losing or has lost his front wing, and he's out of the session. So I think in trying to overtake me, he must have lacked the awareness that Sainz was coming out of the pits, and just ploughed straight into the back of Carlos Sainz. And that was enough to trigger a safety car. So yeah, unbelievable scenes. I can't believe that you know, Verstappen, as experienced as he is, would you know, not be able to avoid a crash like that. You know, I would have got ahead of Sainz, then he probably would have got ahead of Sainz, and then he could have got ahead of me. But instead, now I'm here behind Sainz, because I think the safety car, or the yellow flags at least, were out literally a split second before I got ahead of him. And Verstappen is out of this race. So that's a lot of points that we can gain in this rivalry against Verstappen if we play our cards right here. If we can maybe jump one of these cars and get back onto the podium, that would be absolutely fantastic. Hamilton is once again quite close behind us, just for the simple fact that you know, he was able to catch up due to the safety car and everything. But I am in a really good position here. If I've got pace, then yeah, I could be making up a couple of these positions. I don't know what on earth happened there, but we went weirdly wide at the hairpin and really struggled to get into gear. And now we're going to do our signature pressuring cars at the end of the safety car. The flag goes green, and yeah, we are now able to race alongside Carlos Sainz once again. We're going to try and go around his outside here. There's no DRS for a couple of laps. We're going to keep our foot in the whole way around the outside, pressure him to the inside, squeeze him a little bit, and yeah, we now have made our way up into P3. The tactic has worked, and now I'm going to set my sights on the cars ahead. They were pulling away significantly beforehand. Let's see what kind of pace we've got now that there's a bit less fuel in the car and we're on slightly fresher tyres than we were on before. We'll see if we can move up the order. I think Russell on the mediums will be just a bit too hard to catch, but we'll see what happens. We're now looking at Fernando Alonso in the Alpine. I'm not going to say anything about him. You know, the rivalry between me and him was in the past. I don't think we've really had much racing, but he is out of the race nonetheless. You saw a bit of smoke come out there, and that spelled the end of his Grand Prix. So that takes the number of cars in this race down to 19 after we lost Tsunoda and Verstappen, and now Alonso as well. Here's we're going up the inside of Leclerc. Oh my goodness, that was a send. That was a Ricciardo-esque send. That was almost more brave than the moves that Ricciardo was going for. It caught me off guard, and I knew I'd done it because I'm watching a replay of this race. Yeah, Leclerc caught absolutely napping, as Martin Brundle would put it, and we move up to P2. But he is coming back here, and yeah, he makes the move once again, but we're going to try and stick it around the outside of him. We're going to try and hold on for everything we can, squeeze him to the inside like we did with his teammate a few laps ago, and yeah, we retain P2 now. I'm very good at defending on this track, as it turns out. Russell 1.7 seconds up the road. I think he's moving further and further ahead, but We'll see what happens. Maybe it could have just been because Leclerc was pressuring us. And indeed it was, because now as we come onto lap 24, you see that I'm right behind him. I've got the DRS and I'm going to be trying to make the move on him if I can make the move on him. We bait him to the inside, go for the dummy, send it around the outside, and we'll see if we can hold on as we come through the hairpin. I think maybe his tyres have gone off a little bit by this point, because we managed to get the superior traction on him. And yeah, I just have so much pace at this phase of the Grand Prix. I don't know why. I was so much slower than everyone at the beginning of the Grand Prix, but now I am significantly faster, and that is enabling me to get the jump on all of these cars around us. He is going to attack us to the inside here, but I'm pretty confident we can hold on to this position, and indeed we can. And yeah, if we can now start pulling away from him so he doesn't have DRS as we come around to the later parts of the lap, we could be really in the money here. So we'll see if we're capable of doing that. But yeah, we are now once again in the lead of the race. We went from P1 down to P4, and now we're back up to P1 with only a few laps remaining, and we come around to the final sector, and you see I'm now 5 seconds ahead of George Russell after only a few laps. I've got so much more pace than everyone else at this phase of the Grand Prix. It's inexplicable what happened that made it so I was so much faster all of a sudden, but that is what has happened, and now we just have to bring it home around a few more corners, and we're going to win the Grand Prix. It'll be my fifth career win, and the third this season, so that would be really cool. 3 career wins, or three race wins in one season is pretty awesome. And we come to the line and we're going to hold on. It's P1, another race win, our 3rd race win of the season. You'd love to see it.
Fantastic drive, that's just fantastic, amazing, you deserve that race win, well done mate.
Lando Norris gets driver of the day, despite the fact that he was plagued with various issues and whatnot. And yeah, what a fantastic race.
Well, that might not have been the finest race in history, but there's no question it was a critical win.
I don't know what he's criticising before, but
Well, Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today, but what set them apart from the rest?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions, and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
wrong. It was the safety car. The safety car changed everything. I would not have won that race if Verstappen hadn't crashed into the back of Sainz while trying to overtake me.
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
So there we go. It's myself P1, Russell P2, and Leclerc comes home for the final podium position. Oh no, it's Sainz. What? When did that happen? Did I miss that? Sainz got ahead of Leclerc and I didn't even notice. Man, what a turnout. So Leclerc didn't even finish on the podium in the end, and he is having an awful time trying to defend position. He finished 6th.
So
What?
let's review the updated driver standings. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
It's got to be Lando Norris, hasn't it? Smooth, confident, and assured. I've got no doubt that he and his team are going to be over the moon with his performance today.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. The lead at the top comes down after a strong weekend from the challenging pack. There was also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today as they make their way up the standings. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
So we make our way up back to the top of the championship for now. We've jumped Norris once again after he had a pretty poor weekend, and we are still P3 in the Constructors' Championship. We've been jumped by Mercedes, but we've jumped McLaren, so there's no change for us, even though there has been a change in the cars around us. Mercedes and McLaren have swapped places from P2 to P4 and vice versa. Yeah, pretty solid all around. I can't believe Leclerc ended up finishing P6. I don't know what happened to him. He must have just massively fallen off towards the end of the race. Carlos Sainz will be happy with a podium there. He didn't get many of those in Season 2, if any. I don't really remember. I just remember that he had an absolute stinker of a season, and we ended up finishing ahead of him, despite the fact that we were in a Jaguar and he was in a Ferrari, which also won the Drivers' Championship with Leclerc. And yeah, Leclerc really not having the start to the season he would want to defend his title. I say that, but he didn't have that in Season 2 either. It took him until Canada, which was the 9th race of the season, to win one race. And nonetheless, he still managed to come back and win the championship with one race remaining. Such was the nature of the second half of the season for him. I think he won like 4 or 5 races, maybe even more than that. I'm not sure. There was our little mistake on the safety car restart, which fortunately we didn't have to pay too much of a price for. And yeah, next up is Miami, I believe. Oh no, it's Imola. Sorry, Imola is back on the calendar. So yeah, next up is Imola, and I'm not looking forward to that one, especially because it's a sprint weekend, which means we're going to have to spend even longer trying to not completely suck around there. It's one of my weakest tracks in the game. Probably, I can't really think of another one that's weaker. Maybe Monaco, but even then, Monaco didn't go too badly last season, so we'll see. I think I'm going to really struggle there. If I can finish maybe top 5, that would be ideal, but you know, as long as I can grab a few points there and try and cover off the damage that will undoubtedly get done to my championship lead, that would be an ideal scenario for a race like that. And yeah, and then I can just look forward to some of the races that are coming after that, like Imola, like Spain, not like Monaco, but then we got Baku, Canada, Austria, France, Britain, all of the good ones still yet to come this season. So yeah, I definitely would recommend sticking around for this season, even if you know, even if things are kind of a bit temperamental at the moment. I feel like it's win it or bin it at the moment is kind of how it's going, with 3 wins to our name, a DNF, and no doubt Imola is going to throw up some chaos for us as well. Yeah, we're massively leading that rivalry with Verstappen now. I think we're probably going to get up to Team Acclaim level 21, and indeed we do. So that's nice to see. Only 4 away from being able to sign one more sponsor slot for our car. We will achieve all of our sponsor bonuses, which is awesome. And yeah, it's just it's shaping up to be a very strong season. We're having an even stronger season than we had at this point last year, and it was going pretty well. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe and check out my other videos. And until next time, hopefully I will see you in the next one.